Hey everybody, it's the Dynamite Show live on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel and on the Fight Game Media Patreon, and I think we're on the free feed this week too. We're all over the place. 5 Wednesdays this month, so we decided to do one show for free for all the good people to sample the show. And a lot of people watched our opening from last week. So if there's any new listeners that are checking us out for the first time, welcome and hope you enjoyed the show. And I hope you felt the same way about this show, this Dynamite show that we just watched, as Jeff and I both did. We'll find out. I actually kind of liked it. We actually got some comments here. Adine, my friend, who I'm going to see in Vegas in a couple weeks. One of the better Dynamites in the last few months. Didn't even have the pay-per-view main event participants live. Depth on the roster is incredible. Can't argue with that. And Sebastian, his big takeaway is that Julia Hart has a babyface running her and finally showed real star quality. And they should get Black Heart by David Usher. Kind of like that as her theme. Although I do like her theme music. The House Always Wins, and the way she lip syncs it like Scarlett in WWE.
Okay.
The AEW versus WWE comparisons are a theme tonight. If you've been following my Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and if you're new to the show, the first thing we usually talk about just some general AEW stuff, and there's plenty of it this week. And we'll kind of try to tie these all in together. First off, the news came, I think it was in the Observer. I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but basically AEW Rampage, with the addition of this new show that's coming. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but Rampage is basically going to become Dark and Elevation, because Dark and Elevation were canceled. So the matches that they formerly would have put on that show are kind of going to be what Rampage is going to be. So if you think it's skippable now, it's going to be a little more skippable soon.
I remember Turner did this before when they had NWA main event, and it was going to be, oh yeah, look, we'll have live matches, or we'll have matches that were taped, from live events and main events that you didn't get to see, and then eventually it just became squash matches.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Those shows are not hard to watch. I mean, it's not anything you need to see, but if it's on, you'll probably watch it. If you're not watching anything else, this show's been moved around the last 7 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and their Tiffany properties are far more important. Basketball is they're still trying to make hockey a thing, and apparently it's doing okay for the playoffs. But it's just one of those things in the regular season. It's not much.
No, it's doing real well in the playoffs this year. And basketball too. And they are, make no mistake about it. However Rampage is doing and TNT moving it around and everything, Warner Brothers Discovery is committed to AEW, as we're about to find out, and we are going to talk about that too. But this past week's Rampage, which you and I both had the fortune of watching, I gotta say, man, and I know you got some thoughts, but I'll start. I thought like the opener was actually pretty good, and the rest of the show, like I'm kind of watching it, and I'm like, this isn't bad. This is like one of the better Rampages I've seen in a while. And then that final deletion starts. And I was pumped for that final deletion. I think we talked about it last week. And I was, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see cameos. We're going to see the Lake of Reincarnation. We're going to see this.
I believe the final deletion was the two Hardys against each other. This was the firm deletion.
Sorry, my bad. The firm deletion. This was horrible.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go as far as horrible, but it was pretty mid given the expectations.
I thought it was horrible. Like I'm like the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, how did this make TV? And apparently there's a 21-minute version that's better. And I'm not going to watch it, but I believe it, because I think that it felt very disjointed. So think, yeah. And I think maybe the full version, I said we talked about this on the Boom. They should have just done a whole hour. If whatever, nobody's gonna watch the show anyways. You might as well just do a whole hour of deletion, just make it complete farce, and it's probably would have been real fun. I don't know.
There were a few issues with this that belie even what made it on screen. I ended up watching. I watched Decay and Delete versus Delete. I watched the final deletion. I watched even the WWE versions at this.
Yeah.
And it leans a lot more towards the WWE versions of both, like the New Day versus the Wyatts, and also Bray versus Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
This version of Matt Hardy hasn't. The version of that we love of this match is Matt Hardy being mostly a comedy figure with his incorrect, syntax and grammar and all these things. But really, if you watch the former ones, there's a few elements that this one was missing. It was really missing things like the cameos, like the Lake of Reincarnation. But I mean, they were love letters to wrestling, but they were comedy matches, and the participants, I think, were completely wrong because there's no reason Hook should have ever been in this match.
No. And Isaiah Cassidy, you could have got rid of him too.
The baby face. I mean, and the thing is, the heels have to be people that you don't see any value in. And in canon, the Firm are still the people that helped MJF get this world title.
Oh, I think people have forgotten about that.
I think people have forgotten about that. I think the company's forgotten about it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the people to put in this match is that Jarrett stable.
Oh, that would have been so good. And you could have had tons of guys from you could have Papa Briscoe in there.
You have all sorts of TNA because what this is unrepentant stupidity. There is no real value in this match.
The only guy that got it, I thought, was Stokely.
Well, but that was the other part. That was the problem here, is that Stokely was the comic relief.
Yeah.
Where the rest of this was kind of taken a little bit seriously. And
Jeff Hardy seemed like he was in a fight to the death.
Yeah. With Big Bill, who all of a sudden woke after he gets choked out, stands up all of a sudden.
Yeah. And then when they were wrestling in the building, like it just reminded me of the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want to be.
Yeah, and that was where like a lot of the cameos were in other versions of this, and it was kind of like it felt. If you had never watched any of the other ones, you probably liked it a lot better than people who were.
Oh, I
think that might be part of the problem as well, because it's like you didn't get any cameos. You got Senor Benjamin, you got people who were around the house, but you didn't get anything. Ethan Page did literally nothing.
I don't even remember him in there. Like I know he was, but yeah.
I mean, you thought this would play to those kinds of comedic strengths as well, because it's obvious this is a comedy match.
You know who they could have put in this and still kept the Firm is the Guns.
They could have put the Guns. They could have put. Yeah. I mean,
and then you could have had Acclaimed and Daddy Ass make a cameo, and and it would have just been stupid and fun. Like, oh, scissor me, Daddy. Like in the middle of this ridiculousness.
But the other problem is it's not really a relief from the other stuff in AEW, because we have a lot of these comedic mid-card face groups.
Yeah.
Like the Dark Order, like the Best Friends, and it's Mark not Sterling. Really a respite. It's more of the same, and then occasionally you get something serious. Which
and maybe it was my own fault for having high hopes.
Yeah, and I think if your expectations were high for this, and the Jeremy Borash versions were fantastic, it disappointed you.
Yeah. This might have been on the same level as.
But again, you got any guy that you see anything in, you got to get out of this match. Yeah. This is a total throwaway type of thing. I mean, Hook should be nowhere near this thing.
And I have no idea what the ending was. Like when Jeff Hardy walks out of the building and he stands in the middle of fire, and it's like, is he being like reincarnated?
That was pretentiousness. That's what that was.
Okay. I have no idea. But I mean, I think hopefully they just never speak of it again.
Yeah.
Part of the issue too, and I thought you were going to go here, was the other ones were kind of explained in the reason that they were doing it. We don't really have we don't have that backstory in AEW.
Right. No.
And like you mentioned, a lot of the people probably never saw the original stuff. So they're probably confused as hell about what is going on here, but I don't know. But then maybe they were entertained by the stupidity if they hadn't seen the other ones, like you said.
True.
Yeah. All right. So the big news from the week, and this kind of started to break yesterday, and it's still not official, but I mean, there's a lot of scuttlebutt about it. And my podcast partner, Ryan Frederick, was kind of at the center of it on Twitter yesterday and on the F4W board. And he started out just kind of like, I think he was kind of baiting WWE fans a little bit, saying, oh, in about 8 days, all these WWE stands that were upset about the all-in ticket sales are going to have something to be even more upset about. I think is basically the way his first tweet was worded. Oh. And then, he got pressed on it. And then he basically, they're going to sign a 10-figure TV deal. And the figures that are starting to come out, and I've heard it from a few different places, just rumors at this point. I think Joe Lanza at Voices of Wrestling had it, but basically quoting the same thing Ryan did. So for all I know, all he did was read Ryan's stuff and repeat it. Or, he's got his sources too, obviously. But looking like $1.1 to $1.2 billion over 5 years. And that would most likely be for Dynamite, Rampage, which I'm sure is worth about $20, Collision, perhaps All Access, but also probably their streaming library for Max, as well as live specials on Max, and perhaps even the pay-per-views moving over to Max, which would be, I think, great for fans, if that's the case, and obviously great for AEW. I mean, this cements their future. I mean, $1 billion, like, they don't have nothing to worry about, and that money's guaranteed. So
it's great for AEW. It's fascinating in another aspect for Warner Brothers Discovery, because Discovery took over the company and immediately started cutting costs. They got rid of a whole bunch of stuff that was streaming on their network so they wouldn't have to pay for it. There's a lot of people very angry right now about a Batwoman movie that Warner Brothers made that will never see the light of day.
Didn't they blew like $50 million on that?
Yeah, and they're choosing not to release it or finish it.
Yeah, and they won't even air the footage they've already filmed, right?
Yeah. And they pled poverty. Which makes this very, very interesting.
And didn't they slash all their scripted programming as well?
Yes, they did. And there's a writer's strike right now where the companies, where the studios are basically saying, we don't make any money on this streaming or anything that are on a lot of this streaming, so we can't pay you residuals on it. This is fascinating in a number of ways, because basically, if this comes out that it was that the numbers are correct, Warner Brothers Discovery either has no foresight about the economic conditions that are about to come down the pipe, because I think we are going into a recession of sorts, or they don't care, or they just want to throw it in the face of the writers and say, we got the money, we're just not going to pay you for it.
The other thing, like, I've also heard that they're thinking about scaling back on their NBA to where they may not have as much NBA on their channels.
No, that will not happen, I don't think.
Okay.
The NBA is what that's the thing that keeps these two networks alive.
Oh, I know. That's why I was surprised when I heard that.
Or at least TNT. I mean, TNT has been through many rebrands. They were the place for drama. Now they just kind of run a bunch of movies every week. They've been going through a lot of different identity crises in there. But the one thing that's remained constant, and God knows I've been watching the NBA on TNT since they were running Marx Brothers movies beforehand to very few viewers, was the NBA. And they're not going to, I don't, unless the NBA prices themselves out of it. And hey, this deal could help do that in some ways. I don't see TNT ever getting out of the NBA business unless it becomes unsustainable in any way. That's the one thing that I could see them giving up on hockey, but I can't see them giving up on basketball.
Well, I think they're locked in for like
and I mean I could have even seen them going for a WWE property over AEW.
Well, there was rumors about that for a while, but it turns out it was just somebody that misunderstood.
But my point is, I mean, that's the one thing that can't be there. This is interesting. I mean, you look at the numbers and they're good. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're good. Is this one of those things where it's like, does the amount of programming that they're getting out of it, is this kind of like an averaged type of thing where it's like, okay, we're getting 5 hours of original programming plus the streaming stuff plus the pay-per-views? Is it a bargain or is it far too much?
If you do the math and if you look at the ratings, it's probably, even at these rates, is probably a bargain compared to WWE.
I think they're expecting far higher ratings.
Well, that's the thing. Or I mean, because if you're expecting these ratings where they are now to hold up over the next 5 years, I think that's foolish. I don't see any way that's going to happen.
These ratings aren't going to hold up. That's what you said?
No, they're going down right now. They're going down 20% year over year. I don't see any reason why, unless WWE collapses again. And if that's the case, but right now WWE's hot, and that's
the hot hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan's got an interesting question here, and I'll get to it in a second, but I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Number 1, well, one's more of a statement. If WWE fans or stans, as Ryan put it, are upset about this, they shouldn't be.
No,
because
that means WWE is getting paid.
If AEW is getting if they get $200 million for their combined media deal, my prediction right now is between SmackDown, Raw, NXT, the what's on Peacock, and their archives. So your streaming and your PLEs, they're going to be getting $1 billion a year,
at least.
Yeah. So I mean, that's over double what they're getting now, and their 5 times
their stock prices through the roof too.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
if AEW signs this deal, WWE stock price skyrockets.
Yeah,
because the expectations will be so high. Nick Khan might be the one leaking this stuff. I don't know, but it wouldn't be the dumbest thing in the world. Okay, number 2, you've worked in television,
right.
Is there an out for WBD if the ratings fall below a certain point, or are they stuck? If they sign a 5-year contract, do they have to pay the 5 years, or do they write that into the contract?
You write that into the contract.
Okay, so there could be
if there are expectations of audience growth or ratings growth, you probably underwrite that in the contract somehow to get out of this deal. Boy, putting it on their streaming service, if they do, that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be very interested in those numbers because
I think they put the archives on the streaming service and the pay-per-views, not necessarily the live shows.
Yeah. I think eventually they'd have to put the live. I mean,
like they would do simulcast, maybe?
No, not simulcast. You can't do that.
You'd
kill ratings if you did.
I could see Rampage,
but next day or 2 days later,
I could see Rampage going to the streaming service, almost Peacock right away.
Peacock does something very smart. They don't put it up for a week or 2.
Yeah, so
that you have to either watch it on DVR or live or whatever. But
our friend Matt has a good point. $200 to $300 million is underpaying if they're getting the pay-per-views on top of it. The pay-per-views aren't worth, I think, maybe $15 million a year. So but I do agree with his overall point. And ratings are going to go down, but as long as they're a top 10 show, they'll be fine. I do agree with that as well, to a point.
I got bad news for everybody. All these streaming services are eventually going to go to a pay-per-view model for pay-per-views again.
I think
it's unsustainable to do a monthly, and this is what's going to be part of the right. I think you're eventually going to have to pay for TV there too to actually pay people who work on these shows. But the pay-per-view model, it's one of those things where it's like there's too much money there. There's far too much money. I mean, the $15, it's a bargain for Peacock viewers right now to get the Tiffany pay-per-views, the big 4, big 5 if you count Money in the Bank. They're leaving money on the table.
They are.
And there's money to be had. So I think eventually all these streaming services are going to have to figure out a way to do some sort of pay-per-view, like ESPN Plus.
Like what UFC does.
Exactly. What you like. Paramount might, I mean, if YouTube didn't have the NFL ticket, Paramount and Peacock would be smart to have done that with the NFL to undercut the NFL. But the NFL controls their own product, which is a good thing. AEW will probably have a say in that if Warner Brothers comes to them with that suggestion.
So Adine had said highly doubt the live pay-per-views will be on the streaming service. Matt as well. And I think you're probably right. So I think it would be nice if we got the pay-per-views, but that
would help pay for the deal too, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, because now ESPN, or I should say WBD, is getting the money, not AEW. So they could charge, but then they might start asking them, now we want 12 pay-per-views instead of 4.
Although let me posit this real quick. It'd be interesting counter marketing if Peacock decided through Nick Khan to start doing a pay-per-view model on there, and AEW says, no, we're not going to do that for you for those things. I mean, they already charge.
It may not be their choice.
They already charge $60 for their pay-per-view, so
it may not be their choice. It may be WBD.
No, that's true. But they don't own AEW. I mean, AEW can always negotiate whatever they want out of there.
And here's the question that I had from earlier from Dan. And he says, with this deal, do you think they will ask AEW to tone down some things? I think they're going to ask. They're going to have a lot of say in what goes on those channels when you're paying $200 million a year. That's my feelings.
I think if the ratings go down, yes, because what they're going to say is your programming is turning people off.
Yeah,
it's leverage for a network to look at that and go, see, all this blood and stuff every week isn't doing it. I mean, it's
but and for all we know, they like it. We don't know. I mean,
well, this is a prime time show. I don't think there'll be blood allowed on the Saturday show because I don't think Saturday is going to be prime time. I think it's going to be that 6:05 type of thing. So it's going to be afternoon on the Pacific and early evening in the East.
Interesting, Dean's wording here. I have a lot to say, but tone down. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I used that exact phrase in our Discord today.
Is it broke?
No, I used the phrase in discussing the trios title, which we'll get to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let those guys go out there and do matches.
I'm sure there are internals in the network. And if they point to them, and look, the other thing is, I believe when AOL took over Time Warner, they came in and basically said this stuff's too violent.
Yeah,
for the wrestling, and that was the NWO stuff,
and not even and sexually charged as well, I believe.
Yeah, and the sexually charged stuff. So I mean, it depends on if Discovery decides to keep the Warner Brothers platform.
What kind of other stuff do they are? Like, I don't even know. Like, other than basketball, like they are like pretty like TNT movies with violence and stuff, right?
Yeah, and they've and cable standards have expand or have kind of
like you can drop F-bombs on.
You can drop F-bombs now on cable, which is very odd to me still.
Yeah,
very.
Yeah.
No hardcore nudity yet, but
no nipples.
No nipples, but TNT is.
I can do nipples.
Well, they can you milk me, Greg?
Do you want to see my nipples? YouTube, tell me in the chat.
No, don't tell him in the chat, please. Free, and you're showing nipples. TNT might decide, another marketing thing, because I mean, remember TBS used to be comedy, TNT used to be drama. They used to do that, but now all TNT is Star Wars and superhero movies and Fast and the Furious crap.
And so it's simulated violence.
It's basically like a 20-something guy's fantasy with commercials in some ways.
Yeah. Vegas is starting early, baby. 2 weeks and 1 day I'll be in Vegas for Double or Nothing.
Don't show your nipples in Vegas either.
No, I don't do that. Maybe in the strip club. I don't think I'm going this year.
To the strip club or Vegas?
Oh, I'm definitely going to Vegas.
Okay.
Probably not the strip club. All right. So we got a lot to look forward to. And spoiler alert, Tony Khan had an announcement that he didn't even advertise that he was going to make an announcement, but his announcement was that he's going to have an announcement. And so next week's announcement, he's promising is the biggest in the history of wrestling, essentially. And we're pretty sure that it's going to be the new show and probably the long-term deal. I doubt if they'll do the money, but nothing would surprise me these days. I could see him going out there. We just signed a $1.1 billion deal.
No. I think what they're going to do is they're going to say we're going to be on Turner's networks for a long time.
Yeah, for till at least they may say the year.
They may say the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think the NHL, like other leagues have done that, but they're probably not going to release the funds. But by the time he makes this announcement, we'll all know. The Warner Brothers up fronts are next Wednesday. So it's the same day as Dynamite. So we're gonna know all this stuff for sure next week. And they laid some seeds tonight, as we'll talk about in the show. I had heard about the Miro thing. I didn't know about Thunder Rosa, but she's always there every week, I think, anyways, doing commentary, right? So I mean, they could have put her on TV.
She'd been filling in for Spanish commentary occasionally, I believe.
Yeah. But Miro, I had heard about, but I didn't want to spoil it for anybody, so I didn't say anything. But
I was waiting for a third. That's a rule of threes.
Yeah, well, the third is Punk.
But
they're not going to show him.
I thought maybe Andrade might show up.
Well, you know what? Punk kind of did return this week.
Okay.
I mean, we heard his name dropped. We saw footage of his matches.
Did we?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah. They showed highlights of the dog collar match during the MJF video package, and maybe just that one. And they mentioned his name a couple times. Dean didn't like the mirror return. Here, wait a minute.
Well, we'll talk about it in a bit.
Okay.
Let's get to the show.
This question, just answer this real quick. The idea of transferring new WWE style segments to Collision with the elderly WWE guys having a distinctive style difference between the shows. I'm not going to get into the first part, but I will say that, unless you want to, I will say that I think these two shows have to be distinctly different. I think you need to have a reason to watch. Otherwise, if it's just the same show on Wednesday and Saturday, you're basically just telling your fans, you can watch Wednesday, you can watch Saturday, but you don't need to watch both.
I mostly agree.
Okay.
I kind of disagree with the premise that it's the WWE old guys that are the problem with the segments, but I
knew you would.
Because the younger guys are doing mostly WWE style segments. I agree with you in a way, and I thought for a long time that SmackDown and Raw should be separate type of things, but
they were at the beginning, like way back when, 2002, 2003.
Not really in style. It was still the same kind of stylistic.
Well, you had like SmackDown was a wrestling show, and Raw was the entertainment show.
Yes, to the fandom type of thing.
Okay, and you're right. Yeah, they need to look different.
I think they need to look different. They need to feel different. I think JR needs to be kept off of either of these shows. I am still looking for the basic studio wrestling show. That's all, and I think just building blocks of feuds and just doing it slowly. I don't think ROH is doing it that well, though, from what I've heard. I mean, they're putting on a bunch of matches. Occasionally you get a promo. I'd hate to see it in front of an arena, to be honest with you, but I think the arena thing's going to happen. I think that's what kind of limits you from doing a different style in some ways is, okay, we have this live audience, so we have to put on all these types of things that you would do that you watch the other guys do. And here's the other thing is if you do it too differently and people start to like that show better than your Wednesday show, then you start to get a little bit of grumbling behind the scenes and like, oh, they think they're so good, blah, blah, blah. They think they're better than the Tony show or whatever you're going to call it. I mean, unless Tony's in charge of both. I agree with you in principle, but there are some obstacles in there. If you do can you do a completely tonally different show? Maybe. I mean, I'm a promo guy, so I'm looking for a show with promos, but I don't think I'm going to get it.
I think the Saturday show will be more to your liking, especially with the talent.
I think it's going to be more skits, which I'm a little bit afraid of.
I think we might get more of that on Wednesdays, but
if
the Bucks are involved in creative, that's where you're going to get the skits. I don't think people realize
that's
that.
True.
I think the Bucks are the guys that's what they grew up on.
They like the whimsical stuff.
Yeah. Now, again, it may be different kind of skits than what we're getting now, so maybe the AEW hardcores will like it more.
Here we go. We put Bill Watts in charge of Saturdays.
Yeah. Well, if it's Punk, I mean, Punk might as well be.
Punk should come out and say no moves from the top rope and no mats around the ring, and then
they should have Dax do it. That'd be even better. Everybody hates Dax, anyways.
I don't understand that either, but I get that he's a little bit too involved
on Twitter. Okay, let's get to the show.
Okay.
So this was a pay-per-view quality show. They've told us this over and over and over again, and you know what? This was like the best lineup on paper. I'm not sure if it was the best show since LA, but it was the best lineup on paper since LA, in my opinion. But they kept telling us it was a pay-per-view on free TV. I disagree with that. I don't think it was quite pay-per-view quality, and because their pay-per-views are great. And a lot of these matches had like no build. So that's not really a pay-per-view, but anyways, we started out with Rey Fenix and Claudio Castagnoli. And I don't know if they mentioned it at the beginning, because, I fast forward through the intros and sometimes I miss stuff. But I don't know if they told us right off the bat exactly why these guys were wrestling.
They said it was a double Jeopardy match, and they explained what the stipulation was.
Yeah. Did they say that right at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Because they did mention it later in the match as well. So good on them for doing that. Because at first I was like, why are these guys even wrestling? Like, they have nothing to do with each other. Because I don't watch ROH. But yeah, they basically, if Claudio wins, he gets to choose a partner and they get to go for the tag team titles. And if Rey Fenix wins, he gets a ROH world title shot. So they had a great match. I thought, these guys work really well together. Claudio's a great base for all the flying stuff, and Claudio was doing, just throwing Phoenix around like crazy. Phoenix, I've noticed in his last few matches, I don't know if you've picked up on this, but he's doing the rope walks better than Commander does. And he did a barricade run, and I think it was Shivani says he doesn't think he ever saw that, and then Taz is like, I've seen it before, because Jeff Hardy's been doing this for 20 years, but I guarantee you Tony Schiavone hasn't seen Jeff Hardy do it. So I don't think either one of them were lying, but I love that. But yeah, so they were doing all kinds of stuff, and they called it a double Jeopardy match. They ended up, just back and forth, exactly what you would expect. They had Danielson Yuta watching from the back. And Claudio eventually ended up winning by doing the elbows of death, and then he got a sit-out powerbomb to get the win. And they're speculating on who he's going to choose as his partner. I assume it'll be Wheeler. I think they did a stare down actually at the end of the last ROH pay-per-view, so they kind of set that up actually. But I love this match. It was really, really good. Just perfect opener. That was great.
It was fine. It's one of those things where it's like the story is Claudio's beating down Ray, but Ray's never beaten down. That's the only thing that bothered me a little bit. But my big issue is all this ROH lore on AEW. Yeah. I don't see the point. I really don't. And I know but that's a sticking point for me in a lot of this, is that Ring of Honor has absolutely no value right now.
Yeah.
And it should die a death. And we're getting all these title matches to push towards a streaming service, while also expanding the AEW portfolio of 2 more hours and Rampage. And I'll never complain about too many belts if you make the belts important, but I don't feel the ROH World Title and the ROH World Tag Team titles are all that important.
Yeah, and so I kind of, as I was watching this, I just kind of had the feeling, I kind of agree with what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying, but you probably put it better than I did on Twitter. I said that it's kind of funny how everyone was complaining about the fact that in WWE, you've got a tournament right now going on for the world title, and you've got Raw and SmackDown guys competing for it, even though the title is going to be defended on Raw. For the most part, they've never said it was going to be exclusive to Raw. They said Roman is going to be exclusive to SmackDown, and that the other champion will defend on Raw. But regardless of that, everyone losing their minds over this. Meanwhile, here you've got 2 guys wrestling, and the end goal is a shot at an ROH title, which isn't even on this show. So I just pointed out, why aren't people complaining about that? I don't have a problem with either one personally. You obviously do.
I do for this reason, because it goes to my television writing stuff. Television's fairly easy in some ways. The only real rule you have in television is you have to set the boundaries and the rules for the world in which you're writing for, and you have to stick to them. If you break rules at any time, the logic folds up to itself, and you wonder why. Where are the Ring of Honor titles in this hierarchy of AEW that we're in?
They're just excuses to have title matches on Battle of the Belts.
Yeah, they're Earth 2.
Okay, here's a way to put it, and I'll ask the listeners to the viewers. If this match had not had that stipulation and they just had Ray and Claudio go out and have a match, would it have been any worse? Would you have enjoyed it any less? Did this add to the presentation or your enjoyment of the match one bit? I would suggest no. And you could do this match, and then you could have Claudio go on Ring of Honor television, wherever that airs, and say, "Hey, I beat you on Dynamite last week. I want a title shot. I want a tag team title shot." You don't need this stip, is what I'm saying.
No, I would somewhat agree there, but it actually gave some stakes. But at the same time, is the Blackpool Combat Club in a feud with Ray Phoenix of any kind? Exactly. No. And that's
maybe they are on ROH.
They might be, but what show am I watching?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the other issue.
So my first 10 minutes of this match, I was confused because I missed them explaining it. But
Okay, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the eyes should be on the prize right now. And the prize right now is trying to get some people to buy some tickets to this Double or Nothing show that isn't selling many tickets.
And presumably Claudio is going to be in a 4-on-4 match that they still haven't announced. That is going to be the main selling point of this show. Yes. And we've now got 2 Dynamites left.
And I don't necessarily need, Claudio versus a member of the other 4. I don't need that at all. And this match is fine and it was enjoyable and I liked it. I don't mean to say that I hated the show.
Yeah.
It's just the stipulation gives stakes that I don't think matter in the big picture.
If Claudio and Wheeler were going to wrestle the Lucha Brothers on Double or Nothing,
yes,
for the Ring of Honor tag team titles, then this makes perfect sense.
Then that makes
sense.
There's
no chance that's happening.
No, it's probably going to happen next week. Probably.
No, it might happen on the next ROH pay-per-view.
That's true too.
Yeah. But no, it might be on TV too. Might even be on the next Battle of the Belts.
We're world building, but we're building too many worlds. It's one of those things.
That's fair. So they cut backstage, and they're like, wait, this can't be true, can it? And then they go backstage and you see some feet and then they rise up and it's Miro. And Renee's with them and Renee's asks him a question and Miro ignores her and walks into Tony Khan's office. Except I think Tony Khan is producing the show.
He's a gorilla.
He wasn't really in his office. So maybe he just waited there. But that was interesting. And
I love Miro. So I'm happy to see him back.
I want to see more promos on God. I don't even care if I never see him.
Yes, his promos were fantastic. They made that character. I look, his matches are fine, but
I assume he'll be on the Saturday show.
I'm assuming that too. I think that these are all introductions of people that are going to be moved.
You know who the third should have been?
Andrade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get Andrade and LFI on the new show, on the Saturday show as well. I think it's going to be all the.
Well, we'll see if Andrade gets to come back.
Yeah, if he. Yeah. I mean, maybe they can have Charlotte too. We got an MJF promo. It was a tape promo. It on the scale of MJF promos, this was not high on the list, but it was fine. He basically just said that the gap between him and his challengers is growing. And he's been wanting to step up the plate, but they're just not doing it. They've done nothing. I've beaten Mox, Punk, Jericho, Cody, Danielson. They showed highlights of the Punk MJF dollar collar match. He said that he's been in the best dog collar match in history. He's been in the best Iron Man match in history. And on Double or Nothing, he's going to be in the best 4-way in the history of professional wrestling, which I thought was odd because he just told us that the other 3 guys suck. And now he's telling us that they're going to have the best 4-way in history. Part of my issue with this whole build is all MJF has done is tell us how much they all suck. And I think you should be building up your opponents rather than cutting them down.
Personally. I really wish they'd I would have liked a tonal shift in MJF here after especially the events of last week where he was scared. I want him a little bit angry and a little bit frightened and a little cornered as opposed to being usual MJF cocky. And I think you hit on the part that took me out of this promo, which was I was in the best this match. I was in the best. No, he should say, look, everybody's saying I'm not a very good or whatever. I won a dog collar match against CM Punk. I won an Iron Man match against Bryan Danielson.
What has Sammy Guevara done?
Yes.
What has, and you can do it without, and say, and he might even say, you know what, Darby beat those guys. Maybe he deserves it. But I don't know about these other
he should be saying, look what Sammy did against Cody in that ladder match, etc. Okay. He should be pointing to all these guys and saying, these guys have done good things, but not great things. And I do great things.
Time for them to step up.
And I won. They need to step up. And they need to get to my level. Yeah, because I'm still better than you, and you know it. Yeah, whatever.
But this was, but it was a good promo. Don't get me wrong. It was just I normally like his stuff better.
I do.
It was short. It was like maybe 90 seconds.
I like intense MJF. I just thought the whole so what do you want me to talk? Okay, I'll put away my phone thing. After last week, I wanted a little bit of continuity from that, and I want there to be a tone. Look, I'm going into a 4-way. Where I don't need to be pinned to lose my title, et cetera, et cetera. So I want him to, you need to build up your opponents a little bit now because they've been tearing each other up fine on their own.
that one segment that opened Dynamite a few weeks ago where they all just spent 10 minutes telling each other how much they all sucked.
You're just a failed skateboarder.
Yeah. You don't want to be here.
Boy, that could save my $60 then, can't I?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. We got a video package for the main event. They said it goes back to the original Double or Nothing show where the Moxley Omega stuff first started, and they showed highlights of all the matches they've had together. I thought it was pretty good. A little bit longer than some of these video packages usually are. And I know people that want just action probably didn't like as much as I did, but I am
not one of those people, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Next we got, I like this. It was an FDR interview. They said they owed an apology to Mark Briscoe and they called him out. And instead out comes Triple J, Sanjay's crew. And Sanjay wants to know if they accept the challenge. So Dax asked the crowd, do you want us to accept the challenge? The crowd, they didn't even really react. It was kind of a mixed, if anything. I heard some boos, I heard some cheers, and then Dax is like, "That's just what I thought." I was like, "What did you think?"
That might have been the miking though of the.
That might have been scripting, yeah. But he said then he said something that got bleeped out. I don't know what he said. Did you catch it? It got bleeped out in Canada, so it was probably a little raunchy, but I don't know what it was.
Effing Carney, I think he called.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe he just said effing, but they thought he was going to use the other word. And then he said, we want you to admit that you used Mark Briscoe. And Sanjay said, we didn't use him. He's our friend. And then out comes Mark. He's got a bottle and some styrofoam cups. And he said he's been talking to his good friend, Tony Khan. Double or Nothing, there's going to be a tag team match, and I'm the special guest referee. And Double J is all happy. And he's like, let's break out these glasses and celebrate. Jay, hand these things out. So Jay Lethal starts handing them out. Jeff Jarrett throws his cup away because he's dry. And they start drinking. And Sanjay takes a swig right from the bottle and spits it in Dax's face. And then this starts a brawl. And then Jeff Jarrett shoves Mark Briscoe into Dax, who's blinded. And Dax gives Mark Briscoe a pile driver. I really, really like this.
I loved this angle.
Yeah.
It's basic pro wrestling. And that's all I kind of want at times. And look, my love of all the participants in this angle notwithstanding, I love that Sanjay is the guy that's spit in the face.
Yep.
Again,
everyone was perfect here.
There needs to be a little bit of continuity there, because if you're going to do that pile driver spot, then you don't want that in the other match, I think, with with Daniel Garcia and Orange Cassidy, where he kicks out of a pile driver at 2. Yes, it was Memphis. It smelled like Memphis.
Credit to Matt for that one.
I adored Jarrett dropping the cup and kicking out of the ring.
Yeah.
I liked the little moment in the postscript where they're cutting the various people that are around the ring, and Jarrett's kind of screaming at Dax certain things. I like the look of concern on Jay Lethal's face.
So he's not quite sure.
Not quite sure about it. And, it's kind of like that moment of tension. I love the movie Tombstone. When they're in the OK Corral and they first pull out the guns, and there's that kind of moment where everybody's kind of looking around going, all right, is this going to devolve or what?
Yeah.
I dug that part of it. This is a perfect little pro wrestling angle, and I loved it.
I think this, as of right now, this is maybe the best built match on the pay-per-view. I'm sure some people would say the Elite thing that they haven't even announced yet, but I would disagree with that. Although the angle that they did at the end of the show was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, that angle was fantastic too. But I loved this for just its simplicity. Oh, it's always kind of like, so if somebody runs into you, do you just pile drive them automatically? Dax?
Yeah.
I kind of want to follow up on that. I kind of want Cash sitting in there. So Dax,
what were you doing there,
buddy? Your first instinct whenever you're blinded to just pile drive the first person that comes in.
That could have been me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, who did you think it was?
Yeah.
So we got highlights of the Jericho Cole brawl from last week, which I think we both thought was like the best thing on the show. And they got Renee with Jericho. And Renee was just completely she was really good in this segment because she was asking Jericho questions like a real interviewer would, but she was reacting on camera, but not obvious. And Jericho couldn't even see it, but she wasn't buying anything he was saying. And she was just the subtle stuff she was doing was really good here. But she asked him how he's feeling about how Cole got the best of him last week. And Jericho was really mad about that. Cole created an unsafe working environment. So he's parodying CM Punk here. I got legal counsel. If I'm in the building, Cole's banned. And Renee is just like shaking her head and rolling her eyes. And Roderick Strong shows up and he says, "You're delusional." He said, "Cole isn't a coward, and I'm not banned. So how about you face me in a fight? A Falls Count Anywhere match." I didn't like him saying a fight because Brock Lesnar just did the same thing on Monday on Raw, and his promo was about 100 times more effective than Roderick's was here. But whatever, they set up this match, and Jericho was like, "Or are you too much of a coward?" And Jericho says, "Yeah, we'll have the fight next week." And you could hear the crowd booing because they thought it was going to be tonight.
Yeah, they thought it was going to be tonight,
or even on Rampage, which is what I kind of thought they were going to do. But Strong says, "Well, I also got legal counsel, and the JAS is banned from the building next week." And he throws the papers in Jericho's face. And the scene ends with Jericho like fumbling through these papers, trying to find a loophole, and Renee's laughing beside him. There's a little bit of comedy, a little bit of seriousness. They set up a match. I thought this was fine.
Yeah, no, it was fine. I noticed, though, I mean, it's weird how Adam Cole and Roddy Strong as baby faces lose a lot of their personality.
Yeah.
In some ways, to me. Like, I would have liked Roddy to be a bit more of a dick to Jericho, to be honest with you. I think
maybe he was supposed to be, but he's just not very good actor.
Yeah, well, no. Well, when they make him a baby face, he tones it down to be more likable, and I get that. But no, that's... I don't necessarily like a lot. I was expecting Sterling to come in to be the lawyer here, but because we have a lawyer
for Jericho
in wrestling,
at least.
Yeah,
maybe not for.
We need fewer lawyers in all of the world.
Maybe Sterling did both these contracts.
Yeah, I do love that they both had the AEW cover sheet.
This is a great point, actually. I never even thought of this. Sideswipe 70, our buddy Jason. He says you got to call it a fight to keep the parody up, which is, the whole JAS is a parody of WWE. That's brilliant if they did that on purpose. And kudos to them if that was the idea. But yeah, I thought it was good.
I was fine. It was.
I was watching some in my role as an ROH historian this week. I was watching some Roderick Strong early stuff, and I forgot about his theme music when he was with Austin Aries. And I think they got to try to get it again. Remember? No. Personal Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Such an awesome entrance theme. But he's got to be a heel if they're going to do it.
I am not an ROH historian. I was watching Old Memphis this week. I saw Bam Bam Bigelow's debut and Buddy Landel as a babyface, which was
my go-to is ROH. Okay. I just can't watch the new stuff. Because it's maybe in 20 years I will. And then we go back to Renee. Renee's just all over the place. There's 2 segments in a row where Renee was in completely different spots.
Alex, you stay back here in catering. Yeah. We're just gonna have Renee do everything.
I assume the Cole Jericho thing or the Strong Jericho thing was probably pre-taped. Because
the Tony Khan office stuff was the stuff that was pre-taped.
You think? Okay, because I don't. Yeah, I just the way they something was pre-taped. But she's outside Tony Khan's office, and they're wondering what's going on with Miro, and then all of a sudden Thunder Rosa shows up. And we haven't seen her since, I think, November. And she just blows right past Renee and walks right into Tony Khan's office to, have some cappuccino with Miro while they wait for Tony to finish producing the show.
I don't like segments on social media. But if the two of them are in that room alone waiting for Tony.
Yeah.
I kind of want that.
Don't talk to me. My hot, flexible wife isn't going to like it.
You said some things. Yeah, you said some things too. Yeah, no, my only gripe about this is I'm a big believer in the rule of 3s. But other than that, I kind of liked how this is all being introduced.
So if it's not Andrade, who then?
Punk.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to just randomly introduce Punk like that. I don't think they should have randomly introduced Miro like that.
I mean, they just announced the show announced the show at the Garden in Boston. Mercedes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You really want to just, maybe Trinity.
Well, this is all hinting some. Well, Trinity's in Impact, but no, I mean, this is perfectly good pro wrestling as well. It's
Allison Kay's in Impact too, and they advertised her for a match next week.
Okay.
I think she's in Impact. I don't know. I was at a show that she wrestled.
No. She's not in Impact. She was in the NWA. I think she's unsigned.
Well, because I was at a taping and she was all over the tapings.
I thought Camille was going to show up tonight because she's in Detroit right now for some reason. So
No, too bad she didn't. I would have liked to. Yeah, it's probably on Rampage. That would be something. All right, we got a video package interview, so we're getting all the participants in the 4-way. This one was Sammy, and this one I thought, there's a lot of mixed feelings about this one. So he said he's the pillar that shouldn't have been, but he was too good to be denied. Jericho talked about him as well. Says he wasn't brought in to be my lackey; he was brought in to be a star. Ty Conti was there. She said he loves wrestling and he belongs in this world title match. He puts his life on the line every week. Sammy, again, he says dreams come true. And if there's little kids out there watching and being told they can't do something, it can come true. You just have to watch me and you can believe that all your dreams can come true. Just what a baby face.
Yes. Now, I am far more forgiving than you on these video segments. I actually thought they were a noble effort in many ways to try and build up this 4-way. The only thing that stuck out here for me, and now that you're recapping it, I'm not too certain I'm correct on this point. Did Sammy begin this promo, or was this Jericho that began it?
I believe it was Sammy that began it, but Jericho was there.
Okay, then I'm
very
wrong.
quickly.
My thing was I was watching this. I'm going, well, MJF, Jungle Boy, and Darby are all talking for themselves.
Okay,
and here's Sammy with other people. Yes, this is totally incorrect. This is totally fitting into the AEW All Access show that comes on after this.
But actually, okay, I'll stop you right there for a second. We did have Jericho speaking for Sammy. We had Sting speaking for Darby, and we had Christian speaking for Jungle Boy.
Yes. I didn't realize. I had forgotten Sting was speaking for Darby. Yeah. That's my fault.
Yeah. But it's more of an All Access thing. And I questioned, I said, is Sammy a babyface now? And then somebody answered me and he says, well, MJF screwed him last week. And then, between that and All Access, yeah, maybe he is.
No, he's not. He's a cocksure jerk. And I want him to be a cocksure jerk.
Well,
I want him to think he's going into this winning the title. I understand
come up like that.
I understand the humanizing from AEW All Access, but he's not Sammy the person on this. He's Sammy the character. And I want to see Sammy the character on it. I think they have now a bit of a problem, be honest with you.
Well, this is funny because as I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, I don't watch All Access, but I think this seems like something we'd probably see on a countdown show. And then when I always hear about the countdown shows being great, my immediate response is, well, they should have put that on Dynamite. So here they did put it on Dynamite. So I'm kind of getting what I said I wanted, but maybe I didn't want what I got.
They're Ebersoling this. They're Dick Ebersoling this, and that's an interesting choice. Whereas I think a lot of people, I think this would serve it better if it was, here's who I am and here's why I'm going to win this match.
Okay.
Having
his wife on there, I thought was good.
Oh no, Ty's great, and look, I thought Jericho was very effective in terms of what he was saying, and I thought actually when we get to Jungle Boy, I think Christian was very effective too.
Except they're both heels.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, heels don't think they're actually heels in real life. So I was fine with that. I was fine with that.
We do. So when Jericho says something, our natural instinct should be to not believe him.
Not when he's talking about an ally.
Okay.
That's the thing is I picked Sammy to be with me in this group type of a thing. I handpicked him.
Fair enough.
And I might be a jerk, but he's great. That's all that is. And I thought the Christian thing was cool. Christian's kind of giving begrudging respect. He's like, I hate that guy, but he's good.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Then we go to Tony Khan with a mic, and he's backstage and he's pumping up the card. He says, this is a pay-per-view on free television, and everyone's so excited. And he says, you know what? There's so much talent in this company. I've literally got people lined up in the back looking for chances to wrestle. And I just want to tell you all to stay tuned to TNT next week. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a huge announcement, and it's going to be earth-shattering, and it's going to change the pro wrestling business forever. So I think we all assume that will be the new TV deal. And maybe Collision. A long-term relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery.
And the new show.
Yeah, well, I said Collision.
Well, no, you didn't. I did.
Oh, I thought I did.
Nope. You said maybe the TV deal.
Oh, okay. I meant
Collision. I know.
Yeah, okay. Good for you. You got it. You corrected me. Or as our buddies on the Boom put it, Collison.
Collison, yes.
They go back to that
the former center of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, they go that original trademark that they misspelled.
Yes.
What was that?
Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of there's a basketball player with the last name Collison.
Yeah,
there used to be. So yeah.
Yeah. How did all those people waiting for him in his office if he's got the headset? Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I need? I need the stateroom scene from A Night at the Opera.
Well, did you see? I like the Dean's
Tony
idea.
opens the door and all these wrestlers fall out.
The next All Access should just be Miro and Thunder Rosa in the thing.
I'm actually here for behind the scenes of a bunch of malcontents at a wrestling company.
Yeah.
Sign Tessa Blanchard. Put her in there too.
So Dan LeCue thinks that he thinks Tony's trolling with the announcement about the announcement at this point. I think that would be hilarious, but I think he's
Tony is the one guy on TV that can't troll people.
I can't believe they didn't advertise this announcement though. I'm surprised. Tony Khan, they're wasting his appearances. He's a star. You have to promote it.
No. Tony should be an NPC at all times. Is
he going to have Adam Cole make the announcement about the WWE?
And here, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Cole.
Yeah. You've watched me and Britt on All Access. Well, you're going to see us for 5 years on
special guest star. Jade Cargill.
Yeah. All right. If you watch this show or listen to this show every week, you know how much I love this next match. Orange Cassidy and Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia is one of my favorite wrestlers. Orange Cassidy is fast becoming one of them. This thing they've been doing with Orange Cassidy for the last couple months has been my favorite thing in all of AEW besides the Triple J stuff. I love the story of Orange Cassidy being beat down and having to desperation. So this match with Daniel Garcia starts off by dancing and posing like a sports entertainer, and Orange is actually trying to wrestle, and then they're doing the hands in the pockets thing, and it's a role reversal. And then they start doing the wrestling match, and every time Orange is trying to do his moves, he can't hit them because he's hurt. He's trying to do the beach break and he doesn't hold him right and he doesn't drop him right. Tries to do the Orange punch, but his hand is hurting. I just freaking I love this. And then, he went for the Orange punch, but Garcia drop kicked his knees. Garcia hit a jumping pile driver and Orange Cassidy just rolls out. He went for a sharpshooter, and then this is where it started to get desperate. Orange Cassidy rolls him up. He hits the Orange Punk in the beach break, but Garcia kicked out because Orange Cassidy didn't get all of it. Garcia puts on an Indian deathlock, and then he transitions to a triangle. Orange Cassidy powers out. He hits a crossface. Garcia starts stomping on his hand, and then Orange Cassidy cradled him and got the win. And he's just he's skating by the skin of his teeth. He's got this belt. He never, ever, ever can lose this belt. As Dean puts it, it's no longer Pac's wacky belt. They renamed it. It's the international title now. So I wouldn't, the Pac's wacky belt, he's gotten in his own gym bag in Leeds. He can never lose this belt. I'm sorry. I know he will, but I'll be very upset when he does. What do you think?
I really liked the match, and I really like Danny Garcia a lot. I wish we could figure out.
Danny Garcia is The Rock's ex-wife. Daniel Garcia is the sports entertainer.
You could have let that one slide.
I know, but I made that mistake a lot.
I know. I think I'd like this story a lot better if Orange Cassidy weren't part of the Best Friends.
Well, yeah, there is that.
But I love the story.
Yeah.
I kind of want more signs of damage every week until he's in a body
he should be taped up and but
I think that's the only thing that's missing from this.
It's the reverse of Kenny Omega. Remember when he came back and he was removing stuff? He should be coming in every week.
He should be adding things every week or
he's
every
a mummy by the end of it.
Maybe not every week, but every other week or so to really put over the fact that he's getting hurt doing this week after week after week.
But asshole Tony Khan keeps booking him in matches.
This is gonna be the Stone Cold Vince of our day.
Yeah.
You keep putting me opening every damn week of Dynamite for this.
That's the only other thing. This should have opened the show.
No, but it was fine where it was. I liked it a lot, and I agree with you. It's a great story. I hope they know who they're gonna give the belt to.
I don't think it's gonna be Kyle Fletcher.
I think it might be Miro, but.
I like that because I think Miro might have originally been intended to win this thing at some point.
Yeah.
Miro would be good. Jay White wouldn't be the worst.
Since they're not making this a touring belt anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
Are they?
I think you're right. I could see them giving it to somebody from New Japan.
I mean, the TNT belt's going to stay on one show, and then the international belt's going on the other.
I assume that, yeah. Maybe Pac when he comes
Pac
back
would be fine. Hobbs would be fine.
Oh, I think maybe you might be onto something with Hobbs, because I think that might be Plan B. Remember they did that video package and QT said, "Oh, we got to go to Plan B now."
I think this is Jay White's to win, though.
Yeah, I mean, and if that's the case, then he's got to beat Starks. Which, which I mean,
he will.
I've talked enough about Starks. We actually saw a little bit from Starks. It should come up here at some point. We got a video package for showing the Outcasts thing from last week, where Sheeta returned, and she's not there this week. I think none of them are there, because this is all they did. They taped the thing. I don't even know why they even bothered mentioning that. But next week they're gonna have a trios match, and this was a lot of fun. The heels were making fun of Jamie because of her hurt shoulder, and she says, "Doesn't matter what percentage I'm at, I could still beat the crap out of you guys." And this was good.
I liked this. I thought Ruby was very effective as the centerpiece of the Outcast too. Again,
I didn't even was Saray even there? I'm sure she was.
Yeah,
but I don't think she said anything.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, Tony said one thing, I think. But yeah, this was real good.
Yeah,
and simple and sweet. And how many times have we said, "Oh, why didn't they just tape that?" And it could have been better. They taped it, and great.
No, and I think Excalibur did a good job with the follow-up. Going, look, there's the current women's champion and 2 former women's champion. That's a formidable team. I liked that. I liked when they actually add to the actual product, as opposed to trying to pop each other with Feedback Jones and all, all that other stuff type of, stay in character, kids. Let's stay focused. And they put over the product. I thought that was a good job by them.
I assume we're going to do this trios match, and then we're probably going to get someone debuting.
I think we're getting a 4th on each.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll start with a 4th on the heels.
Yes, we'll start on a 4th on the heels,
and then we'll get another 2 months of beatdowns from them before we get a 4th on the.
Well, unless they're going to do something at Double or Nothing. I mean, that's the weird thing to me is that they are doing these big matches like a couple weeks before a pay-per-view, which makes me think that these aren't going to be on a pay-per-view.
No, like I don't think we're getting Ricky Starks, Jay White on the pay-per-view, and I don't think we're getting this. I think we're gonna get our women's blood and guts on TV, probably late June, early July, would be my guess. Don't they have those 2 weeks in a row where they do special shows in July?
I think we're getting it in Boston.
Maybe
because that's a big arena. That is a big arena, and they can do it.
Oh, you could have your 5th. You could have a 5th partner on the babyface side.
Dump. Money. Whatever.
Money.
Nope. That's not the song, but thank you.
Oh, all right. Is that Shane?
Yeah, that's Shane. That's also, I believe, the OJs.
No, I was doing the Shane one.
Okay, thank you.
Just very.
Yeah, badly. Shane will be the 5th.
Yeah, maybe
with his torn quad.
What's his wife's name?
No, let's not bring in Marissa. Let's continue.
Marissa, that's it. Yeah, she used to be on TV. All right, we got Christian and Luchasaurus out for an interview, and Christian had a ton of heat. He was like Dominic here. He's like said Detroit is the worst city in the country. He's the #1 contender for the TNT Championship because he's Christian Cage. So the Jungle Boy match apparently doesn't matter at all, because the last time we saw him, he lost. But he said, because my name has the cachet, I get what I want. I asked, and then he says, he asked Tony Schiavone, what's with all these wrestlers and their daddy's issues? And the crowd's chanting, shut the fuck up to him. And he's like, yeah, just like my previous opponent, Wardlaw had a father. But he said, your father wasn't famous and nobody cares about him. And he said, but you found Arn Anderson, the father figure you're looking for. And Arn's got his own son. And a lot of you probably don't know Brock, but he wrestles for AEW. But as soon as Arn saw a better person, he ran to him and left his son in the dust. Fans are chanting asshole at this point. And he said he wanted to set his son up for success, but he found Wardlow. Yeah. And he says, now you got a legend steering the ship. And he says, yeah, a legend. The other guy in a team with Tully makes you a legend. Being Ric Flair's lapdog makes you a legend. How many times have you won the world title? None. I'm a multi-time world champion. Unlike Arn, I know what it takes. He stumbled over his words a few times. I think the crowd heat might have been getting to him because they were also chanting Edge is better for like about 5 minutes. And I thought like this was good. I have a lot of questions.
I adored this promo.
Okay.
I absolutely adored this promo because Christian is so unapologetic about getting heat. And I like that in my heel. I do. And of course, the ball facing of you're the other guy in a team with Tully Blanchard when he's the other guy in a team with Edge. I absolutely love that part, but I love he brought up his world title wins. I liked that. I liked the Brock stuff a lot. Maybe they'll do something with Brock finally.
I wonder if
they've dropped these stories like Arn managing Brock and Pillman Jr.
I thought he was talking about Cody when he mentioned, "Oh, your son." I totally forgot about Brock.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan agrees with the Christian thing. Jason has a point here, and I'm curious, and I know he's watching, listening. He's making the point that WWE ran War Games at the TD Garden in November. So does he think that's more or less likely that they would do Blood and Guts there?
I'm thinking probably less, but I'm guessing that maybe they might have forgotten about that too.
Or maybe they just think they can do it better.
That too.
I think there was a women's War Games match that people didn't really love, right?
It's a big arena. They're going to need a big card for it. So I think either way, I think Mercedes is probably on that card.
I do think we're going to be seeing a lot more Dynamites in big arenas. When you're getting paid $1 billion on your TV deal, you got to start being the big leagues.
But take a look at the tickets for Double or Nothing. Take a look at the tickets for these house shows where they're not. I mean, this one that they're doing in Kentucky, I believe on the 12th. Nobody's bought a ticket to that thing. Nobody's bought a ticket to the one in Salem.
Well, why would you? Did they advertise any matches? I think they might sell some Vegas tickets in the next couple of weeks when they start putting this card together. But I bet you they're going to end up with about 9,000 in that building.
I think they're going to. Well, see, I don't have a loss of faith in the Vegas show. I think there's going to be some late stragglers. I think most of the people who bought early have bought early, and they're waiting for the other prices.
The problem with Vegas is it's really expensive to go there.
Yes.
So if you're going to draw a local crowd, that's where you're going to get in the last 2 weeks, probably.
Okay.
And then with some of the other one, I mean, they've obviously interested. They sold 60,000 tickets for Wembley. Jason was just saying more likely, but that it will draw comparisons. I mean, I didn't even think of it, but
I don't think it will. I really don't, because I think it'll be one of those things where I think it's probably. I mean, this last year's WWE War Games has kind of gone off into the ether after WrestleMania.
Well, it was key to setting up the whole bloodline stuff.
Yes,
but I don't think most people.
But if it's a women's Blood and Guts, nobody really remembers that one.
No. And I don't remember the women's War Games match. I assume there was one. I think there was. I think Becky was in it. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we got the Darby video package. Sting was all over it. He compared himself to Darby, and he says they both got in on their own and did what it took to get where they were going. And Darby says he knows what he has to do and he knows where he's going. He's going to get there. Double or Nothing, I'm going to be the world champ. They showed all kinds of highlights of him doing crazy shit. And I thought this one was good. I thought it was actually, of the four, it was probably my favorite. But
I really liked it. I kind of wanted, again, it's not, hey, I struggled to get here. I just want to hear, I will do anything to win from him.
The reason I liked this one the best was that it was consistent with his character that we see on screen.
Yes.
And there was no slamming of his opponents. It was all about himself.
It was all about him. I agree. I agree with you on that. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Then we got, Anna Jay and Julia Hart in a
Queen of the Deathmatch. Anna Jay, put some respect on her name.
No Holds Barred. Was that what this was?
Yes, this was.
Okay. So, I was not expecting much from this because they had a match on Rampage about a month ago that was really one of the worst TV matches I've seen all year, and that was taped, and this was live. I thought for the most part this was better. Like it was a lot better actually, but I wouldn't exactly say it was good.
My favorite stuff was during Picture in Picture.
Yeah, and see, I fast forwarded that. So.
Okay, see, because during that time they were chopping the crap out of each other.
Okay, see,
they apparently it fell apart a little bit because they're like one's holding her nose and the other's holding her head, and they're pretending that they're talking because I think they got lost somewhere in there. And then they just started smacking each other in the face, and it was beautiful. And I love it.
They had a lot of heat before the commercial, and then when they came back, they had almost none. So I assume that's where it fell apart.
Yeah, tonally. I want to put this in the same match where you're basically going to where you're going to do all the props in the cage match. I think that's my only issue. I thought it was a mistake
of having this on the same card as Kenny and
I agree. I agree.
At least they didn't air the other one first.
Or they should have opened.
Yeah,
and then we would have forgotten about it by then. But it was fine.
They kind of botched the closing because she did a superplex that was supposed to be on the chairs, and they didn't come close.
Right. Well, thank God they didn't.
Well, true. Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Okay, it wasn't Miss
And
Spot,
Anna Jay didn't wrap her arm in barbed wire, which
at least Julia didn't end up with a half a broken neck out of this Miss Spot.
I think this was look. I know Julia works hard, and I know Anna Jay is queen of the death match, but it's one of those things where it's like walk before you run for me with Julia Hart a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it was fine for what it was. It was filler. I wasn't offended by it. Let's put it that way.
Julia won. She's got a submission that they call the Heartless.
Yes.
Which is kind of like a crossface. I don't think I've ever seen it before.
I am still surprised they have not made the pivot of Anna Jay with Jungle Boy.
Well, they've hinted at it, but
no. But I mean, for this Pillars match.
Oh yeah, no, she wasn't in the video package. They've mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah,
I think MJF's mentioned it. I think Christian mentioned it, but
I'm just it's slightly surprising to me. But if they never cash in on that, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, who knows? We got Renee with Orange Cassidy, the best friends in Bandito, who are calling themselves the best amigos. They're going to be wrestling for the trios title right away, but Orange said he's got room in his backpack for 3 more belts. Renee goes over the rules of this trios match, which is DQs are enforced, no rope breaks, 20 counts, and the opponents get to choose the 4th step, which I don't even want to get into this, but this whole house rules or open house, it's so freaking stupid. Like, there's no reason to have these steps. Like, they don't enhance the match at all. And they contradict each other. I think they gives fans and the refs and the announcers more stuff to remember and to think about. And then to top it all off, Renee asks him, "So what's your step?"
And
Chuck is like, "Oh, I didn't know we had to pick a step."
This pissed me off, Paul, more than it should have, because it goes into the thing where we have far too many baby faces that are comedic foils.
Yeah,
and I just at least have them be serious and prepared for this. Okay, we have a step for you, and we think we can win.
So his step is no witches allowed at ringside,
right?
Which, under normal circumstances, fine. Julia Hart gets involved all the time.
But she was just
in a hardcore match. There's no chance she would have been at ringside.
No, I would have liked them to be focused for this match, because them not caring about the stip made me not care about the match. That's the honest truth. I think this would work better if just the House of Black says, you choose the stip, we'll beat you.
I think
that's all they need to do.
Either they have their step, which is no rope breaks, 20 counts, DQs are enforced. That's it. Or the other thing is, you know what? Dealer's choice. You guys pick the match, we'll beat you. Doesn't matter what it is, we'll beat you.
Yeah.
But having it this way, it's like, I even said you could be ridiculous about it. And I kind of thought they actually might. I was like, well, okay, our rule is if your team name is the House of Black, you automatically lose.
Yes.
It's like,
wait, we never thought of that. There's a loophole in here. Oh my god.
Exactly. Somebody's brought to my attention, they're like, well, maybe they'll say chairs are legal. And it's like, well, if you'd say, why would you just say chairs are legal? Why not just say all weapons are legal? Like, why, it's there's so many, every answer gives me 10 more questions, and it's like, it doesn't enhance the match at all.
No.
Dan had a great point, and we'll get to this. Why was it called an open house match instead of a lights out match? What was different there? It seemed like a lights out match. So at no point in the build to this did they say anything about the lighting.
Lights out is actually for an unsanctioned match, I believe.
Yes.
In wrestling lore, if we're gonna be all geeky about that crap.
What the hell was this?
Hold on. I actually liked this, but I want this for the rest of the show. I don't want to see this crowd. I just don't. I'm tired of your dumb signs. They're not funny.
It's soda, not a pop.
Yes, okay, we get it. You're from the Midwest. But yes,
2 + 2 equals poop.
I'm all for wrestling coming back to dark arenas. This is the Fiend. It's the Fiend.
Yeah. It's an alternate universe.
Yes, it's mood lighting because they're the dark and spooky team. Ooh, booga booga booga.
But it's like they never even mentioned it.
No.
You know, and then Excalibur says, "Oh, at the request of the House of Black, we're gonna wrestle like this." It was kind of a cool visual. You had like the thing in the background on the Contron playing, and
there will eventually be a team that wears like miners hats with like flashlights on it.
But you know what? If they would have just said, "Okay, open house rules, we're gonna dim the lights. It's gonna be in our universe, but you guys pick the steps." You know, like that. That would have been great.
I like that. It's like, okay, you guys do it. We'll beat you at your own game.
Kind of look like an underground kind of feel.
Because that's
like
the
UFC.
other thing. The dealer is the house, and they are the House of Black.
Yes. Yeah. Jeff turned heel in the crowd.
I did.
Lights out match has no rules. I mean, yeah, it's unsanctioned is basically the concept behind the lights out match. That said, okay, so the match itself. I wrote down a couple things and then I just kind of lost it because I was like, I don't understand why this match is happening the way it is. And I literally lost focus of the match. I didn't even write down the finish.
Because Bandito is now the replacement for Danhausen and the Best Friends. But I thought Bandito looked pretty good in this match.
Yeah, Bandito looked great. He did a crucifix bomb on Brody, which I loved. Then he did a flip dive right at the end. That was the last thing I wrote down.
That's the one move that I didn't want to see. Oh. Why is your power guy getting crucifix bomb? I get that Bandito's
he's power.
He's the power luchador. I guess that's fine.
Yeah,
it was just one of those weird things.
After that flip dive he saw, like I just completely zoned out.
Yeah, I was waiting for Chuck to get pinned. Or
the next thing I wrote down was Kyle Fletcher was attacking Orange Cassidy backstage. That's literally the next thing I saw. Like the next thing I wrote down. So I know that House of Black won. I can't remember exactly how. And the match was fine. It was good. But at the end of the match, I was like, I think I would have enjoyed this match better without the stiffs. Like if they would have just had a match. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the stiffs added one.
Did the stiffs come into play at all?
Nope.
Okay.
1 point. Bandito went for the ropes and then the ref's like, no, you can't break the ropes. So then he just went out of the ring. And then the ref didn't even count him. Even though there's a 20 count.
Yeah, help out the refs, guys. Let's have as few stipulations as possible so that they can keep track.
You need, for this to work, you actually need a DQ. Like very early on in the course of this stip. Somebody needs to get DQ'd so that stip has some meaning.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. House of Black won. They retained. And we're
Aiden, stop reading my mind. We'll get to that in a second.
Do you think that they will tweak this?
What do you mean?
Will Tony tweak this based on how it came off? Or will he just keep doing it?
I think they'll keep doing it and they'll figure out some way where somebody figures out a stipulation that gives them the upper hand.
But the presentation, like you think they'll keep up with the lights out and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a House of Black.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And they're spooky.
Spooky bitches. Spooky witches. Sorry, my bad. So we went right from that while they were celebrating. They go backstage, and Orange Cassidy been watching the match, and he gets attacked by Kyle Fletcher. He's got all his belts. He wants a title shot. Tony screams, "Doesn't he have enough belts?"
Tony just killed this entire thing. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Tony? The whole point is it gives Kyle Fletcher a little bit of heft because nobody knows who the hell that is when they're looking at him, other than wrestling fans. Because hey, don't you remember he was on that Rampage?
Yeah.
Where they opened against Best Friends.
No, or the Battle Royal where he didn't get introduced.
Or the Battle Royal where he
eliminated.
Get introduced.
Commercial.
Yes. I'm Kyle Fletcher. You might know me from such episodes.
Now, fans of his probably pop big time.
Oh, yeah.
Dean makes the point. Kyle Fletcher is absurdly random, considering the talent AEW has in the back twiddling their thumbs. Especially given that Tony Khan just
Tony says, I have people lined up.
Yeah, but Kyle Fletcher.
And it's Kyle Fletcher.
To be fair, I believe this is an open challenge belt. So,
yes.
Yeah.
The other part of this that makes it absurd somehow is that they put Kyle Fletcher cutting a promo right before they got Jay White cutting a promo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying American fans are dumb.
But they might think it was the same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah. Kyle Fletcher is a little less hairy and a little skinnier and probably a little taller.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe it leads to an Aussie Open Best Friends feud. That's not really selling me.
I've already seen it on TV. Why do I need to see a feud?
True, yeah. Next, we got the last of the 4 Pillars video packages. It was Jungle Boy, and all he ever wanted was to be a wrestler. Christian said he had the most talent of all the pillars, and that's why I took him under my wing. If he can win the he can win the championship. He can get his head out of his ass. Jungle Boy said, I never wanted to be the guy that did show tunes on TV. MJF wrestles like 4 times a year. I'm out here to become the best pro wrestler in the world. I don't really like any of those other 3 guys personally, but I think this is going to be a spectacular match. This was fine.
Again, I would have loved to have done a little script doctoring on this, because I think number one, Christian, it wasn't the best of the 4 promos. That was probably be Darby, but it was the most effective, I think, in terms of Christian putting over Jungle Boy. I would have loved Jungle Boy to have done so. MJF only wants to wrestle 4 times a year. I want to go out there every week to prove to myself that I'm, whatever, make it within this world.
His whole thing was he's wrestling to get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or he's wrestling to sharpen his skills. He knows that kind of thing. And I would have liked that within the world. We've set the rules of this world, as opposed to, well, he doesn't even like to wrestle. He just goes out there 4 times a year, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, okay.
Because he's contractually obligated.
He's getting paid.
Yeah. I mean, he's got it made, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And yet he's still, even though he only wrestles 4 times.
Oh, you want to go out every week? You're a sucker.
Still had the best dog collar match in history. Still had the best Iron Man match in history.
I don't want the best matches in history. I want him to say I'm a winner. That's all I want him to say.
No, I hear that.
I get that.
So we got our rundowns. Rampage, Acclaimed and Daddy Ass against Butcher, Blade, and Kip. I feel like we've seen that a few times already.
It feels like I've seen it 3 times already.
Yeah. Action Andretti and Kyle Fletcher. All right. Tony Storm and Allison Kay, Detroit's own. Okay, random. We're going to hear from the Guns. Oh, that's good. They're still alive. And the Mogul Embassy against the Dark Order. This is Dark Elevation, dude.
Yeah. Without an Emi Sakura match, dude.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. I think maybe she's on ROH. Next week, Dynamite, Hater, Britt, and Sheeta against the Outcast, Ricky Starks and Jay White. So 2 matches that I think a lot of people thought were going to be on the pay-per-view are going to be next week. We got a video package for Starks and White. Not much here. Starks is sick of the Bullet Club. Jay says, we don't deal in almost. You almost got the Rochambeau on me, but you didn't get the job done. And it's a perfect setting. I think they're in Stark's hometown, so I assume he's probably going to win, and maybe they'll do a rematch at the pay-per-view.
I hated the last line of Starks' promo because it came off so ineffective. Because
he said, "I'll show you what a real legend in the making looks like.
I'll show you what a real legend." He had the pause in there where it's just like, and then he just kind of rambled off something.
And then he says, "A real legend," and then he pauses again, and he's like, "In the making." It's like, I'm not a legend, but I might be one day.
What does being a legend have to do with this feud? Nothing.
No idea. I think he thinks he's feuding with Randy Orton in 2003.
Yeah.
Jericho and Strong in a Falls Count Anywhere match where Cole is banned for the building and Jericho Appreciation Society is as well.
So which member of the Jericho Appreciation Society is going to blow it for him?
Jake Hager.
Yeah, that's what I figure.
Yeah.
Under the ring, probably. Yep.
Yeah. So they start lowering the cage as we go to the commercial. We got Mox's entrance, and then they went to the commercial. Back from the break, Mox is sitting in the cage waiting. Omega's entrance, and Justin, like, he just did, Kenny Omega. That's it. Like, none of his big, long spiel that he normally does, which I thought was weird. Don Callis is out with him. Keep that in mind. And so they start the match. Bryan Danielson's on commentary, but before they can even start wrestling, they start brawling on the ramp. And BCC's at ringside. They start beating on Kenny. It's 3-on-1. Out come the Bucks. They drag Yuta up the stage. They threw him off the stage, which is like, I don't know, 4 feet in the air. And he lands on his feet.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that looked fun. And like legit fun. Like not like, oh, that looked fun. Like you hurt it yourself. But it was really weird. And then Nick confronted Danielson at ringside, and then he did a dive onto Claudio and Yuta off the thing. Eventually, security showed up, and they got to the match. So they start the match, and Kenny immediately got a barbed wire chair and smashed Moxley across the back and tore up his back and busted open his head. I don't even know how that happened. Maybe it was with the chair too. Mox bashed Kenny into the camera on the ring post and kissed the camera. And then they went to break. And I guess during the break, they took the turnbuckles apart. And the next part of the match was just Moxley beating the crap out of Kenny with the turnbuckle and choking him with the ropes, with the cables. And then he brought out broken glass, spread it in the ring, and then they did spots around the glass. Kenny at one point hit a V-trigger, or sorry, Snapdragon suplex into the glass. They said that he hit the glass, but it was actually Kenny that landed in the glass.
Yes.
Which I mean, again, I'm probably glad that they didn't land in the glass. The glass didn't really come into play too much, actually.
Good.
I'm very glad. I like this a lot better than, like, for instance, the Full Gear match that they had, which I know a lot of people liked, but I like this better. I did like the Revolution match that they had, the one with the dud at the end. I like that one better than this, but this was good. So Kenny hits a V trigger into the cage, and the cage wall collapses. Mox is outside on his back. Kenny is crotched on the thing. That did not look planned, and it did not look fun.
That was a dumb spot, I thought. Yeah. I mean, just in terms of the safety of both and being able to guarantee that both would have landed safely. But continue. I got some gripes about this. But
somebody had a great point on this. I was trying to find it. Jeremy earlier. The show-ending angle, I mean, and we'll talk about this in a second, was done remarkably well for Heat. But Omega and the V-trigger through the cage will be a highlight reel for years. Absolutely, like they're going to have that in the opening credits of Dynamite for sure. So they back in the ring. Kenny was calling for a doctor, but then Mox just got up and dragged Kenny into the ring, and he grabbed a screwdriver from a cameraman for some reason. Tossed the cameraman to the side, grabbed the screwdriver. I don't know why the guy was carrying one, but he goes in the ring, and Callis gets in the ring behind Moxley and grabs a screwdriver just as Moxley was about to hit Kenny with it, and the crowd pops. Omega hits the V trigger, then he hits the one-winged angel, and he goes to pin him, but Callis attacked him from behind with the screwdriver, hit him once, and Kenny just rolls over and Mox pins him, and then Callis like threatened to hit him again with the screwdriver, but then he whispered something in his ear and kissed him, and then they just kind of faded to black. And that's your big angle. Don Callis turned on Kenny Omega, and presumably the Elite.
I liked this match overall.
Yeah, I thought it was
so
good.
Let me get that out of the way.
Okay.
That said, our friend Brian Rose put it better than I did, and I'll read his tweet verbatim as opposed to the preamble. I will give a gold medal to whoever can do a cage match in the year 2023 without the following: a brawl outside the ring, weapons, a spot where the cage somehow opens. Maybe it's me being a little bit too old school. I said the stip should be enough. I understand in today's day and age, we have to heighten with the glass and the barbed wire chair. I think you should be able to tell the story with the cage. I understand why they did this. Don't get me wrong. And it's not that I minded it that much. It's just one of those things where it's like, we just had a no holds barred match, and we're now following with a cage match. That kind of adheres to the rules of a cage match. Kind of, I actually liked the brawl outside the ring. It felt very ECW in terms, and also gave a nice excuse for why none of these other people were interfering in the match. I liked that. It was narrative consistency with that. I don't know what to think of this Don Callis angle. I know we were expecting him to turn. Just not so soon after the BCC split his head open, because I think we're going to get a much more complex story here, in a story that needs to be a little simple. Because I don't think Callis is going to align himself with the BCC.
Okay.
I think this is just a heel turn to have him get him away from the Elite.
And then where does he go?
And then he finds somebody else. There's a guy by the name of CM Punk coming back.
Yeah, that's possible. MJF.
Because my first thought was, well, okay, if he's going to be involved in this on this thing, and we do like an Anarchy in the Arena, I mean, I know he can't wrestle, but shouldn't he have to be a part of it? And somebody wrote me and goes, well, they think Takeshita's going to turn too. And I'm like, well, that makes no sense then.
Well, if Takeshita is signed with Callis, and he is actually with the BCC, which is I think what I had predicted. Then Takeshita is kind of with the BCC, but he's kind of a reluctant member. And then you've got
if they were going to do that, they should have done that without beating him up.
What, Takeshita?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you save the beatdown for when the rest of the team turns on him for being reluctant. You don't do it to get him to join the group. Because
didn't they do that with Daniel Garcia?
It didn't work with Daniel Garcia.
With Wheeler Yuta.
With Wheeler Yuta. I mean,
yeah. They beat the crap out of him and then they let him in. Like, I mean, that's kind of, it's like initiation, right?
Okay. I mean, I guess you could do it that way. I just, my improv partner goes, you know, it would be perfect if they had CM Punk, a guy who's 0-2 in MMA, join the Blackpool Combat.
This is a great point that this churn moves the heat from the BCC to Callis.
Yeah. And I don't like that either.
Yeah.
I actually love the Blackpool Combat Club. I think I think if you're going to move the heat to Callis, it has to be when there's actual stakes involved.
Cody here says Takeshita is bled with the BCC and they want you to bleed in with them. So, I mean, that is consistent with storylines.
I guess.
Dan or Ed. And
let me ask you something. If somebody beat you up, would you want to join them necessarily?
Well, no, and I think, and that's what I think, but I think Takeshita might join just because he respects Danielson.
No, and I'm fine with that.
Danielson did not join in the beatdown.
If they make it make sense, I'll be fine with it. Yeah. That's all.
And then Cody also said maybe Don's the mouthpiece for someone against Kenny, but
that's
not
what I'm thinking
with the BCC. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking as well because it was weird. The step that made me go back for a second is that he didn't put the death blow on Kenny when he had the chance.
So what was the thing? Was that like the kiss of death, like in the Mafia?
Yeah, kind of a thing. It's like, I loved you as a brother. And it's like, and I'm figuring he's going to do a promo next week where it's like, you know what? When my head was split open, you know, you weren't there to help me or whatever. And I think that's kind of lame.
Yeah. But then
because a lot of this was, you know, Danielson said nothing. Moxley just walked away from the whole thing. Nobody seemed to be embracing.
Who caused the blood on who broke open Callis' head?
Moxley.
Right. So again, you know, with Takeshita as well, like you bleed with them, you join them. I mean, it could be, you know, like
I guess. I don't mind. Let's put it this way. If the end game is to get Callis as the mouthpiece of the BCC, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, because I think that if that's the case, they'll actually be heels. Because sometimes when Danielson cuts these promos, I end up cheering for him more.
Well, that's because he never goes, because you can tell he doesn't mean anything he's saying. That's the problem.
No, I think it's the opposite. I think he means what he's saying, and you actually believe him. Like when he says, "We're here to make the wrestling business a better place," and I want this guy to be better than me. Like I actually believe him, and I think, why would I cheer against you?
But he's not. But my point is, he's not saying it as a heel. He's saying it tongue in cheek with a little grin on his face.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Whereas I think Callis knows how to be a heel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm, look, I'm fine with Callis being look. If you get Callis in a tracksuit and out of those dumbass shoes of his,
or just a suit in general, you know, like he can be what Regal was originally going to be.
Oh, I like the whole dojo gimmick, and I really like this. I like this stable as a shit heel stable. So I'm here for the branding of it all. I'm a big fan of the visual and the branding, and I really love, as I said last week, I loved the promo that they did.
Yeah. Last week's promo.
This is their horsemen. So, I mean, let's make them the horsemen then. And I'm good with this.
So Callis is
JJ Dillon.
Yeah. The only thing they don't have is a flare. I guess Mox maybe.
And Danielson's a flare.
Could be. Yeah.
He's just not cocky like Flair. He's his own kind of leader, but I mean, there's a definitive hierarchy in there. So I'm good with it. I thought Yuta took a great bump on the super kick too. I mean, watching Yuta just flop around brings me such joy every week.
Andrew or Adine wants you and Andrew to debate Don's shoes. I guess we'll look forward to that on an upcoming We're Live, pal. So that was the show. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. I think this show will bring. I know that there's some AEW hardcore fans from day one that have been a little disappointed with the show of late, and I think this is probably more up their alley what they did tonight.
It was, but at the same time, someone characterized the show as relentless, and I'm inclined to agree.
And how so?
big thing happened. Big thing happened.
Oh, okay.
Big thing happened. Big thing happened.
Well, I think that's what the AEW hardcore fans like.
And I guess that the pillar segments were kind of a, step back type of thing. This is where we're building a little bit. And that's fine. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm also one of those people who thinks you should have one big thing happen on a show and then it matters.
At the end of the day, we got 3 matches that I figured were better than 4 stars.
Yeah.
We got Miro back.
2 returns.
Thunder Rosa back. We got whatever the hell that House of Black thing was, and then and we got some good promos. So I kind of a really good wrestling show.
No, it was a fun show to watch.
Definitely not a pay-per-view, but I mean that's not. I don't mean that as an insult. I think this is a bet. I'd rather see this on a TV show than a pay-per-view on a TV show, if that makes sense. This was kind of like an NXT when they do
event,
like when they do like Beach Breaker or whatever the hell they call it, those kind of things but way better. but what those things are supposed to be. This was like a much better version of that.
Yeah, I think the only way this fails, and especially given next week's card, is also I think next week's card is more stacked than this week's right now.
You think so?
Yeah. I do. I think that Starks Jay White match is going to be very good. I think
spoiler alert, this show is going to tank in the ratings.
Yes, I agree.
Because Lakers Warriors.
Yeah. I'm wondering though. I mean, if none of these people are on the pay-per-view, that's fine. We're 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and we've got 1 match.
And we have 1 match.
Or 2, I guess now, right? We got the tag team title match. I think FTR accepted, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And Christian Wardlow, I guess, well, it hasn't been announced, but I think we can assume. And then we have the main event.
Right.
And that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whatever the hell the BCC Elite thing is going to be.
It feels like Excalibur is going to go in 2 weeks on Friday. Here's the matches for the pay-per-view.
It better not be Friday. Because Friday, I don't even know when that show is going to happen. It's it might be like midnight on Saturday or something. But no, it'd probably be like 8:45 or 9:45 Eastern, 7:45 your time, 6:45 your time. They're gonna announce all the matches like in 20 seconds.
And again, old school Jeff wants them announced and then do the build.
But you know what? They've been doing this for a while and it's working. So I don't really have an issue. As long as we get as long as the matches when they're announced make sense based on the build, then I'm totally fine with it. If they just all of a sudden had all these random matches, I probably wouldn't be. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
I think both companies just need to stay out of America for about a year.
Oh man, that Puerto Rico show. And Wembley, I think I'm more looking forward to Wembley after watching the Puerto Rico show because I think Tony's gonna want to beat it. In terms of crowd, and everything. So
definitely.
Yeah. All right. Get your plugs in. We're over time here.
No problem. I do a show called Shake Them Ropes on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network this week. Chris Novembrio and I will actually get the show out, as opposed to Jeff accidentally deleting it and having to recover it. But no, if you listen to this last week's, it was a throwback to me in my happy place going over Crockett Cup 86, which was a lot of fun. But no, this week we will be talking rumored TV deals in AEW, ice cold takes on Backlash, and much more, including will Nigel McGuinness actually be on this AEW show in Wembley, since he has now trademarked his name?
I hope that he is on the New Collision show as well. And I want to thank everyone for joining. Dean, great show as always. I do appreciate you sticking around, and Dan as well, and everyone else listening and watching. And for me, I'll be back. I'm supposed to do a Grandpa Des show tomorrow on my YouTube channel, but my guest, I still haven't been able to lock down a time, so I don't know what's happening. Anybody watching or listening wants to be on the show, send me a DM. I'm actually serious about that. About 24 hours from now is when I'll record. But outside of that, I've got In the Clinch MMA podcast on the Fight Game Media free feed. You can check that out. I did a little run-in this week on the Boom as well with Mel Gray and Samantha Shipman and James McDaniel. So you can check that out on the Fight Game Media free feed. So for Jeff, I'm Paul, and this has been the Dynamite Show.
Like what
Later.
you like.